welcome back to another session at Blue Sky with Women at Blue Sky, our Women in Tech session. So today, guys, I'm joined by two beautiful ladies, Isel, Khonse, and Saliwe. So today, these three ladies will be sharing all about themselves and what they do and how they came about to be in the IT space. So let's start with you, Isel. Tell me about a little bit about yourself, how you came about to be in the Salesforce world, and how you came about to know about Blue Sky.
Thanks, Natsai, and thanks for having me. I'm very honored to be here, and I think this is such a wonderful initiative. I've been really enjoying the conversations that you've had so far, so it's great to be here with all three of you. Um, so I had a bit of a very unusual path to tech. I studied social work after school, and that's a four-year degree, and it's a lot of practical, so it's quite intense. And then for my first proper job, I joined an NGO here in Cape Town, where it's a kind of community development work that we did in informal settlements around here. And I was about 2.5 to 3 years, I think I was there. Had many different positions, started out as kind of general social worker, and then moved on to head of the children's program. And then the final position that I had there was kind of learning and development head, which I really enjoyed so much. It was very tough because I was working with the community workers. We had care workers that worked with children, and we had what we called community mothers. They looked after the children, they made food for them, and I would do debriefing with them. And they faced quite a lot of hardships, so that was quite intense many times. But I loved working with them, and I was just so inspired by all of their stories and just their strength of character. They were all women, and they faced so much adversity in their lives, and they decided to devote their careers to working with kids that needed help and women in the community that needed help. So I drew so much inspiration from that. Um, However, I was feeling quite disheartened because of the lack of funding in the sector. Also, a lot of it was very driven by funding that you can get from either government or other institutions around the world. And what they would like to see is results. They want to tell their investors, look at what we're doing, the change that we're making in the community. And working on the ground, you see that every day. You can see it in the kids and you see it in the people. But you don't really have the reporting. You don't have the statistics to show that, because you need infrastructure and you need people to be literate to do that in specific technologies. And we just didn't have that. We didn't have the capacity to either build that or train people on it. And I could just see the power that data could have if we could really just implement it. So I was looking for a new way to learn more skills that I can apply in impact measurement, really. And then I found this job with an international startup that does data solutions for social change, and they work primarily on Salesforce. And it was a wonderful experience. I was there also about 3.5 years, where they kind of take people from a social background. So we had people from the human rights sector, from teaching, from medical, public health, and then people like me with a social work background. And then they teach you the technical side, very much like at BlueSky. And yeah, it was basically consulting, building Salesforce systems. And eventually I found out that I never thought I could be in any way competent in a technical way. I mean, I have no background in it whatsoever. But in the Salesforce community, as you ladies might know, it's just there's so many resources and ways to get into learning, and I really fell in love with it. And so grew into the solutions architect role, which is kind of my favorite place to be, solving problems. And at that point in time, I realized I needed a new challenge. I needed to expand my knowledge on different cloud technologies. I needed to learn enterprise level skills. And that's when, very fortunately, BlueSky reached out to me at that point in time. And I just knew it was right. I actually heard about BlueSky a year before I started, I met with Matt Sirkant, the CEO, when the company was a bit younger. And I really loved him and his vision and his philosophy, but I didn't feel quite ready to leave the social sector at that point in time. And so now, when I knew I was ready and Lucejo reached out to me, I just knew it's time. And I can honestly say it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. So that's how I got here. Sorry, it was a long story.
Not even. I'm glad you shared it. That was actually an amazing story. And as I mentioned earlier, that we could all learn from each other and learn what one another is doing. You just mentioned how you grew into the solution architect role. So for me, my 5-year plan goal has always been to be a solution design architect, and I'm definitely gonna reach out to you and back you on that. But anyways, this session is not about me; it's about you, ladies, and sharing your stories. It's amazing how you the exposure you got from being in the social working world, how it drove you to want more, and you realized that for me to want more in it's for me to venture into the tech world, and because you see how data was driven from being in the social space, and you're like, okay, let me see how I can improve myself and to see what I can do to improve the kind of situation where you are at that time and how you could improve it in the next couple of years. It's really amazing of what you have done is so far, and I know you have acquired 16 certificates for that space of time that you have learned Salesforce, and it's amazing. So move on to Saliwe. Tell us about yourself. Who is Saliwe, and what does Saliwe do every single day of your life?
Every day. Well, pretty simple, but so I studied statistics and geology. Weird combination, but yeah, I've always liked weird combinations apparently. So, but then geology wasn't really like it was that thing where you go to these seminars and they're trying to, when they're doing the induction and stuff like that, trying to make you guys come and become an intern. And then this lady was just like, when she was now presenting, saying that if you become a geologist, obviously the money is good, but you'll be going into like these fields and stuff. And then they started talking about a snake policy. So for me, it was like, because snakes is like my biggest fear. So she said, if you get bitten by a snake, and you obviously die, or if you do die, but what she was saying was that you will probably die, and then they'll obviously give the money to your family. And I was just like, no, this is not for me. I don't, I'm not doing this. So that's how I ended up leaving geology on the side. So it's just laying there, but it's fine. And then STEDS, so I started at EdCon with my internship as a planner. I was a junior sales planner, merchandise planner, and basically that's when like you're analyzing trends and those sort of things to come up with future trends. And that was basically what I was doing there. And then I got interested in SQL. It just became a thing of being interested in the whole technology side because we used a lot of systems, that side at EdCon. And then so I got retrenched. Then after that, I was not working for some time. I think it was like 8 months. That's when I found the job post for the Academy for South for BlueSky. And then I was interested and I applied. And then, yeah, now I'm here. And so I have two certs so far. I'm working on my third one. And I'm quite nervous about it because it's a lot of reading. So, yeah, but that's where I am now.
Oh, thank you, Sally. It's amazing how most of us we hardly start in the studying technology. You always have to start somewhere first before you could actually say, I want to venture into technology. And it's amazing that technology is actually changing people's mindsets currently, because back in the day, no one, like after university or no, after matric, you'd be like, oh, I want to study to being a software engineer, I want to study being a software developer,
True.
or anything in the technology world. It's always, I want to be a doctor, a psychologist, an accountant, like what you said, a geologist, and you studied for it. But after then you realize, but this wasn't for me, and I actually want to venture into something else. And you fell in love with IT, doing something different where you were analyzing things. And that's how you realize that analyzing is quite interesting. Let me be a business analyst.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how technology has changed the way we think. And what I like about it is now it's changing how women also think and how women venture into different directions. Because if you check with your statistics of your employments and your roles and stuff, you realize most women are in either in the nursing department, accounting department, teaching department, because it's something that we're groomed to fall under, not to say, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a software developer, or anything that you was named is for male dominated industries. It's amazing how things have evolved from where it used to be to where we currently are. Thank you, Sally, for sharing your story.
My mom still says, oh, sorry.
I know you go ahead.
I was going to say, my mom still says, my geologist. And I'm just like, sure.
Is it?
Yeah, like I'm done with that life. But anyway,
Well, it's amazing. She's gonna grow into saying my business
I
analyst
hope so.
lady, no more geologist. But yeah, that's good. At least now you can be like, Mommy, let's move over to from there. Let's move over to the digital world, because we're currently living in the digital world. Okay, thank you, Sally, for sharing your story. Let's move on to Khonze. Tell us about yourself. Who is Khonze and what does she do?
Hi, ladies. So with me, like you said, Natsai, like we are not groomed into wanting to go into tech. So after matric, I wanted to get into civil engineering because I was like, that's a male-dominated area, and I want to prove that women can, do something. But then, unfortunately, I couldn't get into the program, so I had to get into like a BSc general. That's where I discovered computer science, and I didn't look back. So from there, I went into information systems and marketing, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm grateful that I got into that program, and yeah, that's how I got into IT. So I did my final year last year, and then I was doing a software testing learnership, and I found Lesego on LinkedIn. So that's how I learned about Blue Sky. Before then, I'd never heard of Blue Sky or the Academy. And yeah, that's how I'm here now. And I'm really grateful to be here, really excited. And I think one thing I love about IT is that it's evolving. And so there's so much learning to do. And there are so many resources and so many people to reach out to.
Did we lose Khonze there?
So
We lost you for a second there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. We last heard
Okay.
about how amazing the technology is and how there's so many resources for an individual to learn from.
Yeah,
So
basically ended.
it is, it is. So did you know that there's something called Salesforce at the time when, is it?
I'd heard of it before.
So far, how has been like your Salesforce journey, and how do you find Salesforce? Because it's different from what you're used to. Because you see, from coming from a computer science background, I also come from the same background. That's what I studied. You don't know, and you don't learn anything about CRM. All you learn is about programming languages, which is your Java and all sorts of other ones. and then you learn about doing analysis of work. That's it. And either database, like what you mentioned, Sally, that you did SQL, and you're like, okay, I love technology. So far, how has Salesforce been treating you, and how do you find Salesforce?
I've been enjoying Salesforce a whole lot more than, what we did at school and all. So yeah, I've really been enjoying it.
That's amazing. So, from your experience, you wanted to be a civil engineer, right, from
Yeah.
university because you wanted to get into the male-dominated industry because you had this thing inside you to say women can also do it. What
Yeah.
made you to drive to say women can also do it, and what motivated you that I really want to be in the civil engineering space?
Well, I was interested in the built environment because initially I used to look at plans, like drawing plans, and so I was interested in architecture. And then my mom was like, okay, you can't, there aren't really many opportunities in South Africa for architects. So look at something else. And then I stayed in that field because, like I said, it was a male dominated area. And the way women are groomed and the way we're taught, I thought, I need to do something to prove that we're not just moms that take care of kids and, like you said, nurses and all of that. And that's what drove me to stay in that field. And yeah.
Amazing. So, what advice would you give to a young girl out there? Because I know you just recently completed university, and there's someone, probably a first year out there, and maybe they decided to choose something that seems easier to them at that point in time, but they want to venture into male dominated. But you see, you hear stories of how some women, they are not successful in their roles because of they don't get the support that they need. And so what advice would you give a young girl?
I think the advice that I would give is just remember why you're doing it. And perseverance really is going to carry you. Remembering your why and persevering, I think, yeah, that's a winning combo.
Amazing. Thank you, Khonsa, for sharing that. Izo, I have one question for you. You came from the social background space. You worked with women, you worked with young girls as well, and you worked with different backgrounds as well. Like, from your experience, especially when it comes to women, do you think we as women, right, those who are actually in the current roles, are we doing enough to reach out there to actually assist other women that there's more to life than what we're currently living in? Because not everyone gets the exposure that we all get. Not everyone knows that we are living in the digital space. People just want to get by each and every day, especially for women, because it's difficult. So, how has that experience been for you? And what advice would you give to women out there who are trying to reach out to make a difference?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is we can always do more, right? That's I just got some feedback from one of my clients as well. It was very good feedback, but it's always good to know that there's always more that you can do. Um, I think I agree 100%, especially in areas where people in general have less opportunities and less access to resources and technology. We really need to try and reach, especially young women there. And not only, it's not just a matter of bringing in the resources, like having computers available, data and Wi-Fi, so that they can actually access the internet, but also just mentorship, I think, is such a major thing. And especially seeing young women like you guys that are being successful and study computer science, I think, is such an inspiration to people. Uh, like when I was still in the communities doing social work, just a lot of the young girls wanted to do social work as well. So seeing someone who has done that and to look up to as well, just talking to them and being there was really valuable. So I think that's one of the biggest things we can do, is just go and spend time with them and show them, if someone can do comp sci, I can do it. Like that's also the biggest learning that I had. I had so little confidence when I started on this tech journey in myself, and just thinking I would never be able to do this with my background. But you can learn anything, I believe, and if people can do it, you can do it. So I think just that mentorship and spending time with them is really important. I think we can all do more of that. Um, but other than that, I think also just the role models, seeing how inspiring and cool it is to be in the sector. That's also a big thing. Just getting more vocal about the opportunities in something like Salesforce, or some of the other technologies you work with. There's a whole range of roles. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a technologist, right? You can be a business analyst. You can be something more on the sales side, business development. So there's a whole range of possibilities, and just the general skills of working in a professional environment. That's something we all already have experience with, and we can transfer that. We can teach that to other people. So I think that's one of the big things.
Amazing. So far, two things I've picked up is perseverance and confidence. So I believe those two, especially for a young girl out there, or a young woman who's trying to make a career change, someone who's trying to also see like what career they can venture themselves into. Be persevere about it and be confident in whatever you take. I know sometimes it's difficult when you embark on a journey, and like what you said, we need role models, people to look up to, someone who has gone through a transition and they managed to make something out of that, because not all of us go through transition and then we can say, oh, I actually succeed into that, because we not most of us have the support that we need for us to be supported through that transition we're going through. So I believe, like what you said, if we could reach out, and you can never say you've done more than enough, you can always do more than what you're actually capable of, and to reach out there and help out whoever needs help. And I think also what's important is trying to create room for women to be comfortable to come to say, okay, I can't do this on my own and I need some assistance. Because I think as women, sometimes we want to be strong and we want to show the world that I can do it on my own, but at the same time you can't, because there's a lot you're going through at that time. Life can be overwhelming, things can be overwhelming, and you see, like Honse, you had your mom to support you, that okay, this way that you want to take, and then after you complete university, do you think you could find a job? And you're like, okay, let me actually try and see what's out there. Because without your mom telling you that, architecture, yes, it's nice and all, but in South Africa and Africa, it's not really like you will get a job immediately. You might struggle, but you eventually get it. But maybe your growth will be less because we don't have the infrastructure to support that career path that you want to take. But you had your mom to guide you through that. What if there's another girl out there who wants to venture into that, but they don't have any support system or anyone to show them that, okay, I understand that you want to venture into this, but no one is there to guide them that, okay, this is the path that you want to take, but how are you going to be in the next 3 years or 5 years to come? Because I believe um, we also need to start thinking of a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, so that you don't get to feel as if like you haven't done anything with your life. So perseverance and confidence, those are the two key things I got from you ladies. Sally, so your mom, she's still calling you that you're a geologist. And so when you moved into the tech world, how did she take it? And when you were explaining that, okay, mom, I'm venturing into something different from what I studied, how was she when she was supporting you?
Well, in the beginning, it was a bit hard because I guess maybe it's just Black people syndrome or something like that. Like, you're just playing with your computer. You know, because you always have your laptop and you're busy trying to figure out things. It's like there's nothing there. But I think with time, she accepted it. It's just that maybe it's just a mind thing that she just keeps calling me my geologist. So yeah, and um, I think for me, it's also important that she's accepted that, because at least now I don't have to keep explaining myself. Like she might say, she's my geologist, but then when people are asking her, so what does she do? Is she like out in the fields? That's when she started explaining the whole computer stuff. So that makes me feel a bit, at ease with that as well. So yeah.
Amazing. So, what advice would you give someone who's probably going through the same thing that you went through? They went through a transition and they don't, not really to say they don't have the support, they do have the support, but it's taking time for people to try to understand why you made that transition, right? Because with you after university, when you went to university to start something, your mom already, she was telling people that my daughter, she's going to be this because of the degree that you studied. And then
Mm.
now it's like, okay, you're moving over from what you studied and you're moving to something totally different. And not everyone knows about how technology is, like what you said, you're working with computers. People think if I'm like, oh, I'm a software developer, they think I work with printers, I work with hardware. And I'm like, no, okay, this is what I do. And then you're like, oh, okay, so what's that gibberish that I'm looking in your laptop? What's that thing? I'm like, that's code. And then like, oh, so I'm like, everything that you see how your WhatsApp works, for it to function the way you, when you want to send a picture and you want to do all those things, it's software in the back end that's written for it to function the way that's being a software developer. And they're like, oh, you get it. So now you try
Mm.
to explain to people how the digital space is from how they live their everyday lives. So what advice would you give to someone out there who's going through what you went through?
I think for me, I would probably tell them to believe in themselves. That's very, very important because, with my mom, she can be a bit hard sometimes. Like I remember when I told her during varsity and I failed my SAP, and she was just like, oh no, you can come back and you can be, they call it, okay, it's a boutique, but like when you're selling stuff outside on the road, it's like you can start doing that. You can even get a job at ShopRite. And I'm just like, I'm telling you this because, I'm struggling and I need your help. And instead of you, pushing me down, she's now telling me you can even become, a salesperson. And I'm just like, this is not what I need. But what got me through was I really believed in myself, and also changing from the whole geology side, going into being a planner, then now a business analyst. It's more of going with the wind, but at the same time, I believe I can do it and I put my mind to it, and I work towards it. Because sometimes you might think, now I must do this, but because I believe in it, I have the courage to work through it. And whatever anyone comes and says to me, it's not about you, it's about me and what I believe in. And I believe that I can make it, so I will make it. That's probably what I'll tell them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So this also extend another question. It's about suicidal, right? You
Mm.
mentioned how when you're going through so much as a woman, right? Society always says, don't worry about it, you can be this. It's like they want you to settle for less, right?
Yeah.
But at that time, you don't want to do that for yourself, but because you don't have the support system, you end up settling for less. Like, any of you can respond to this one. What advice would you give to someone out there who's experiencing the society norm and you know, how people try to make you settle for the things that you don't want to settle for, because we all go through some stuff, especially with society. Society, I feel like sometimes it drives how we think, it drives how we do things, because you'd be like, what will society think if I do this? So as a young woman, and I feel like as young women out there, society is like, it tells us that no, you need to do this, like you need to be a mom, you need to be a wife, you need to do a simple job so that you can be able to handle being a mom and a wife. How should we handle that as women? Because I believe we deserve more, because we are capable of more. If you can handle households, if you can handle work, then we're untouchable, right? So any of you guys can respond to this.
Okay, I'll go first. I Yeah, I agree 100%, and I think you know, the other thing is that there's so many compounding factors as well, like Sally, as you were mentioning, with, you know, your mom just wanting you to, you know, try something else, or it's okay if you give up. So I think, you know, it's just not always that you don't have support or the, you know, care and love from parents and loved ones, but they don't fully understand necessarily what you're going through. Or they don't have the sense of importance of your goal as you do yourself. So I think it's very important for us to seek out people that do share the same vision, that do share like our ambitions as well. And I'm so happy that at BlueSky there's a group of wonderful women like you guys that I can share those things with, and everyone's talking to each other and supporting each other. Similarly, in my previous job, I also had a group of people that always very supportive of my goals. But sometimes you just have to look around and reach out. And fortunately, there's so many forums for that as well. There's so many, you know, post-COVID, there's a lot of online groups that you can join. Sorry about all these notifications. And a lot of communities for women in tech, especially. So like women tech makers from Google. In Salesforce itself, there's Ladies Be Architects, there's other groups for women, and a bunch of other ones that you can find on social networks. And it might not be as good as in person, being able to chat to someone, but just finding a source of support. I find that there's so many women that want to support other women, and at work as well, reaching out even to more experienced people. Like we have amazing women like Ursula here at BlueSky that love to mentor and care for people starting out their journey. And I think that's something that I learned the hard way, is asking for help. You know, like before, Natsai is like we are supposed to be strong, you know, and it's not always like that. I think that makes us quite special, and maybe stronger, is that we can lean on others. So that's just what I would say.
Thank you, Isel. Anyone else to share?
I'll probably just add to what Isel said, to say, you know, you're not alone at all. Like what she's saying, there's a lot of women that want to help. And, you know, like with my mom, obviously she can be a bit, but at the same time, she's literally the one person that I can always count on at all times. So knowing that it's enough. And also at BlueSky, we have you, Natsai, and Zal, Conte, like everyone is just really helpful here. You know, it's different with other working spaces where you can't really go and ask, and you're always scared to say, should I do this? Should I not? And like what you were saying, to say, you know, because it's technology and because we're women, it's like we can't do it. And sometimes it's something that blocks us from going to ask for help from someone, because you're thinking, they might think less of me. But that's not really the case most of the times, if you actually go out there and ask for help with people that actually want to help as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Sally. Khonso, would you like to add something?
Um, okay, I don't know how to phrase this, but I think it's great that they mentioned the support that, you know, we get at BlueSky and other women out there who are able to support each other. But I think for someone who isn't exposed to the support that we have, I think the advice that I'd give to a young lady in that situation would be to try and find stories of women who have made it in tech, and try to draw motivation from that, and try to I'm not going to say go the same way that they went, but draw motivation um, from their stories. And like Sally said, believe in yourself and believe that you can do it. And so, yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies, for sharing all your stories. Just to also add on what you guys summarized as, I think like with Sally, you have the support system in your mom. As much as sometimes it takes time for someone to understand, but I think it's also up to us to educate our support system that this is what I'm trying to do, and this is why I'm doing it. And this is reason why I want you guys to believe in me that I can do it. I believe in myself and I know I can do it. But if you guys still don't understand the reason why I'm doing this, then the support system, it doesn't have to be at work, at home. I feel like support, when they say charity begins at home, it's very important. Because if you don't get that support system at home, if you get it at work, yes, you think it's enough. But when you get home, we don't sleep at work, we sleep at home. So now at home, people don't understand what you're doing each and every single day of your life. Sally, you're trying to study for a certificate, right? We are here to advise you on how to go about it. We are here to tell you and share resources and all that. But when you get home, if you don't have anyone to support you that you can do it, because you're going to finish working, you're going to be tired. You open that book, you open that tab when you're trying to answer those questions, you're going to feel exhausted. But if you don't have any support structure to say, no, you can do it, just okay, I'll chill with you while you are studying for an hour or two. If you don't have that support system, I feel like that's why we as women, we easily give up and give in, but like, you know what, I can't do this, it's fine, I'll just settle for what I have, and then when I feel like I'm uplifted again, I will embark on that journey. So just to add on that is, let's try and build and educate our support structure at home. It's really important because it will assist us in becoming better versions of ourselves. And, to see that loved one at home being proud of you, being proud of what you did, being proud of the hard work you put in, it's amazing. That I can testify. I've seen how amazing it is when my dad congratulates me on the smallest of the simplest things. It's amazing to see a smile on his face. And he always tells me, sometimes when I'm overwhelmed, I call him, I'm overwhelmed. This is what's happening at work. Like, no, you can do it. Maybe take some time out, take a walk, do things that make you happy, and then come back and continue where you left off. So support structure is very important. And the three things are also that came from this conversation: confidence, perseverance, and believing in yourself. To all the ladies who were listening, thank you very much for tuning in and for the three ladies to share their stories. And I hope one of you could learn a thing or two from what these three ladies share. And let's try and practice the three things that came out from this conversation: perseverance, confidence, and believing in yourself. And no one, and I mean no one, can take anything away from you when you set your mind to it. Thank you, ladies, for joining me, and thank you guys for listening. All right, this end our chats. Bye bye.
Thank you.